Wednesday, February 15th. Things are beginning to get back to normal. Bert and Anya have gotten over their hangovers and got used to not smoking again. They're both still edgy and snappy all the time, but it's a controlled edginess now. It's not so spiky. Fred's up and about again. He doesn't look too bad. A bit hollow-eyed, a bit twitchy, but that's about all. He seems to have gotten over the withdrawal symptoms a lot quicker than last time. I don't really know how heroin works or what it does to your body, but I guess it didn't take him so long this time because he hadn't been taking it that long. The schedule's creaking back into operation, too. The place is getting cleaner, and it doesn't stink of cigarette smoke anymore. We're still not talking very much, but at least everyone's sober and straight. Normal. Here's a normal day. 7 o'clock. I wake up sweating. It's too hot. Sometimes he turns up the temperature at night. Other times he turns it down, and I wake up shivering. But this morning it's too hot. I lie in bed thinking of other times when I was a little kid, when Dad was home, when Mom was angry. I always remember her angry. Angry or irritable, or both. I remember the garden, too, the garden of the house we lived in before Dad got rich, the scrubby lawn, the hedge, the crumbling rockery, the fir trees. I can see it all, as clear as a bright blue sky. At the far end of the garden, there are 2 tall fir trees and a hedge of thick green privet. Wood pigeons call from the fir trees. Hoo-hoo, hoo-hoo, hoo-hoo. I remember the hedge as a jungle. I remember summer. Slow worms are resting in the sand and the roots of the hedge. Slow worms, sleek brown tubes with skin of varnished leather. I sit cross-legged in the hedge dirt watching them. They're not worms. They're not even snakes. I know that because I read my animal book. Slow worms are legless lizards. They have hidden nubs of arms and leg bones to prove it. I sit in the dirt, scratching my arse, absently crumbling a clod of earth in my fingers, watching the slow worms, and I remember Dad's joke. Q. Why did the viper viper nose? A. Because the adder, and kerchief. I remember Dad's mouth, his smile, his straight white teeth, his bristly mustache. And I sit here in the dirt, rubbing the palm of my hand on my knee, singing a whispered song to myself, to the tune of 3 Blind Mice. Hello, slow, what do you know? What do you know? Rocking back and forth like a praying mantis. What do you know? Mr. Slow, what do you know? Where do you go? And on the word go, I make a grab for one of the slow worms, but I'm not quick enough. I was never quick enough. All I ever got was a handful of leaves and dirt. 8 o'clock. The light comes on and my memories fade. I get out of the bed and dress in my tattered clothes. Big t-shirt, padded shirt, hood, baggy clothes, getting baggier by the day. High-tech boots. And I go to the bathroom, wash, clean my teeth, slip the sheet over my head, and use the toilet. I walk back down the corridor, nod a silent greeting to Anya as she passes by the other way, and go into the kitchen. Make coffee. Sit down, wait for the lift to arrive. 8:45. Jenny comes in. We talk. She has a rash on her leg, tiny bites. I make a mental note to add lemons to today's shopping list. I seem to remember that lemon juice is good for flea bites. 8:55. Fred walks in, shirtless, scratching his belly. He doesn't say much. He ruffles Jenny's hair. I tell him I want to see him later. He says okay, makes a cup of coffee, wanders back to his room. 9. The lift comes down. Food, juice, fruit, milk. Jenny helps me put it all away. 9:30. It's Bird's turn to make breakfast, but he forgets. Jenny makes toast. We eat together. I make some coffee and take it to Russell. I want to talk to him about something, but his head is bad, so I leave him alone and go to the kitchen. The rest of the day drags on. The clock is set on slow. I talk to Fred, check on Russell, help Jenny with the cleaning. I lie down and think some more about the garden. I remember my clothes, my pale blue shorts, my brown striped t-shirt, my sandals. I remember clutching a bamboo cane and a bottle of orange squash in my dirty hands, and I remember my daydreams, my imaginations. The garden is Africa, America, a desert plain of uncut grass, with rabbit's ears and ragged red noses. I remember plucking a rose thorn, licking it, and sticking it to my nose, making myself into a rhinoceros. Then, imagining rhinos and lions, I whip my bamboo cane at a big red ball, miss it, and the thorn falls off. I kick the ball, and it sails up and over the rockery into a bed of red-hot pokers, flattening a full-bloomed stem. I glance quickly at the back door to check that Mum's not looking. Then I scurry back up the garden to see if I can fix the broken flower. But I can't. So I snap it off and step it deep down into the base of the hedge. I know that Mum won't look in there because she's scared of the slow worms. But what if she does? And now my heart is hot with the memory of what happened early one summer when I stripped all the petals from Mum's pansies and she got really angry again. You little sod! Nasty eyes. What do you think you're doing? What's this? She's holding up a jam jar full of murky water. Bits of stick and pansy petals are suspended in the pale brown goo. Insects, too, and grass. Bugs, leaves, moss, woodlice, worms, snails, a slug, stones, gravel, mud. What's this? A garden concoction, that's what it is. What do you think I'm doing? I'm collecting things in a water-filled jam jar, mixing them all up, just to see what happens. That's what I'm doing. What is it? Mum snaps. Nothing. What do you think you're doing? Nothing. Come here. I can't move. Come here. She shoves the jam jar into my hands. Get rid of it. Go on, now. I start to cry. Where? Just get rid of it. I take it up the garden path and start to empty it by the roses. Not there! I see her standing in the doorway, a cigarette burning in her hand, and I don't know what to do. I'm scared. Just leave it. She spits. Put it down. She draws hard on her cigarette. Put it down! I place the jam jar gently on the lawn, taking care not to spill it. The murky water rolls in the grass. I see bits of insect, beetle-winged boats, a black slug floating like a whale. Come here. I shuffle down the path. My eyes are stinging. I need a wee. Mum grabs my arm and swings me round and slaps the back of my thigh. You little shit. And again, whack, really hard. Get upstairs. I go up to my room and cry my heart out. Sometime later, she brings me biscuits and a glass of milk. Linus? She says softly. Linus? I can't speak. I'm trembling. It's all right now, she whispers. Everything's all right. I won't tell Daddy. Daddy doesn't have to know. I don't know if any of this is true. I can't sleep. I'm trembling. Friday, February 17th. Yesterday I tried to escape. It didn't work, and now we're all suffering for it. Before I tried it, I wrote down what I planned to do in a page of my notebook and showed it to the others. Jenny thought it was a good idea. Bert and Anya thought it was a waste of time. Russell thought it was too risky. Fred didn't seem to think much of it either, but at least he was willing to give it a go, and eventually he persuaded the others to give it a go too. He can be very persuasive when he wants to. So yesterday evening, about half an hour before the lift was due to go up, we got started. While Jenny and Fred were in the kitchen cooking up some bacon, I took a roll of bin liners down to the bathroom and began filling one with whatever rubbish I could find. At a prearranged signal, Jenny accidentally knocked over the frying pan, spilling bacon fat onto the cooker, and screamed, Fire! Then she ran back to her room. As the flames spread on the cooker, Bert and Anya came running out of their rooms, shouting at the top of their voices. Meanwhile, Fred had broken a leg off one of the dining table chairs, dipped the end in the burning bacon fat, and set light to it. He quickly wrapped his head in a sheet, got up on the table, and started poking the burning table leg at the grill in the ceiling. While all this was going on, I stayed in the bathroom, and as soon as all the shouting started, I got to work. I had to move fast. 1. Empty the rubbish out of the bin liner. 2. Tear off 5 more bags from the roll. 3. Quickly start stuffing one bag into another, then another, then another. 4. Until I had made a super strong bin bag, 6 liners thick. They were the extra large bin liners, the ones you use for garden refuse. We had specifically asked for them, and I don't know why he'd sent them down. I don't suppose he thought it mattered. Or maybe he did, thinking about it now. Maybe he knew what he was doing all along. Anyway, they were the extra large bin liners, and I'm pretty small for my age, so when I climbed inside the super strong bin liner, crouched down low, and scrunched myself up as tightly as possible, there was still enough room to fold the bin liner over my head. And then I just waited, hoping, wondering. I could hear all the racket going on outside, Fred cursing, Anya and Bert shouting. Then, all at once, that horrible piercing whistle started screaming again. Not for long, but long enough to hurt. And then suddenly it was quiet again. I waited in the black plastic darkness, hoping, wondering. Had he seen me making the bag? Had he seen me getting into it? Had the diversion worked? Had I made the super strong bin bag strong enough? I waited, keeping perfectly still. After a while, I heard Fred's footsteps coming along the corridor. The bathroom door opened. His footsteps came closer. Then the bin bag opened and he tipped some rubbish over my head. Not much, just enough to cover me. Bag closed. I felt him grip the bag and lift, and I held my breath, half expecting the bag to split open. But it didn't, and then I was being carried along the corridor. Like I said, I'm not big, and I don't weigh very much at the best of times, but it was still a pretty remarkable feat. Fred had to carry me as if I weighed nothing, as if I were just a bag full of rubbish. Incredible. It was a very strange feeling, being carried along like a bag full of rubbish. And at one point, I almost started laughing. I imagined myself as a tiny little man being carried home in a bag of shopping by an unsuspecting shopper, and when the shopper got home and started unpacking the bags, I'd jump out and scare them to death. Doesn't sound very funny, does it? You had to be there, I suppose. I could feel Fred turning left now, heading along the little corridor towards the lift. And then, as gently as possible, but without making it seem too obvious that he was being gentle, Fred dropped me down inside the lift and left me there. Just another bag of rubbish. All I had to do now was wait until 9 o'clock and hope that 1, the lift went up as usual, 2, the man upstairs hadn't seen me getting into the bin liner, and 3, he hadn't been watching too carefully as Fred carried me along the corridor. It was quite a lot to hope for. Time passed slowly. I waited, not moving, trying not to breathe too hard. Then, after a few minutes, the lift door closed. I held my breath again. The lift lurched and started going up. I couldn't believe it. I was moving. I was going up out of the bunker. The lift stopped. Ka-dunk, ka-dunk. Everything was quiet. I waited. Nothing. The door stayed closed. I waited. Nothing. Then I heard a very faint hiss, a gassy sound, and a few moments later, I smelled it. A chemical smell, not unpleasant, like a hospital smell, clean and gassy and... "Oh, shit," I muttered. That was it. I don't remember anything else, just senselessness. When I woke up, I was lying on my bed, back in my room, with a throbbing head and gummy eyes, and a terrible ache in my stomach. I was shivering violently. It was freezing cold. My eyes felt as if they were glued together, and there was a nasty, sour taste in the back of my throat. I sat up, groaned, and cracked open my eyes. Russell was sitting in the chair across the room. "How are you?" he asked. How do you feel?" "Like shit," I said, rubbing goo from my eyes. "What happened?" He gassed us all. That's what happened. Me in the lift, the others in the bunker. They were unconscious for about 3 hours. I was out for nearly 12. He sent me back down in the lift. When the others came round, they got me out and put me to bed. "You didn't look too good for a while," Russell said. "We were all quite worried about you, especially Jenny." "Is she okay?" "As well as can be expected." "Good," I shivered. "Why is it so cold?" He turned the heating off. "Punishment, I suppose?" Russell nodded. "That's not all, I'm afraid. While we were all unconscious, he came down and removed all the food and drink from the kitchen. All we've got left is water." I opened my mouth to speak, but all that came out was a hacking cough that turned me inside out. It's late now. I'm not feeling too bad. Not physically, anyway. I went in to see Jenny a while ago. She cried when she saw me. She said she thought I was dying. I'm not gonna die, I told her. I'm tough as old boots. No, you're not, she said. You're weedy, like me. I smiled. I'm not weedy. She wiped her nose. You are? Yeah, well, us weeds are stronger than we look, aren't we? We have weedy powers. She grinned. Weedy powers? What's that? It's the stuff the others don't have. The stuff that keeps us going. Me, you, the super weeds. Yeah. I didn't know what I was talking about. It all felt right, though. It still feels all right. And as I sit here in bed, writing these thoughts, I feel something I haven't felt in a long time. Maybe never. I feel a closeness. It's a huge and overwhelming feeling that cancels out everything else, and I don't know what to do with it. It's so good, it's beyond good, but at the same time, it's unbearable. It fills me with visions of blackness and pain. I can't say anymore.